Yo, what's up, guys? It's Trey again. I know I'm behind on editing. I don't know when this video is going to be actually published. I just know on what day I'm going to be editing it, obviously. And currently it is 8:57 p.m. Wrapped up the workday kind of a little bit earlier today, but it had me thinking about a couple of things. And it had me thinking about my industry and sorry, I know that was loud. My industry and what I do for work, and how maybe someone in my exact same position a couple months ago, I can maybe shine some light on things that may not be as apparent as some people think they are, right? And
Listen, it's called connect.
sorry, I don't know
What
what
would you tell a man who
sorry, I don't know what the is going on. But once again, I feel like not a lot of people know about this. For one, people know a lot about the industry, they just don't know how to break in, they don't know how to market themselves correctly to get them a position. So I want to shine some light on that, and what I do specifically is tech sales. Okay, and I'm going to give you the textbook definition of tech sales off of my trusty little iPhone here, and it is: tech sales is a process of selling technology products of a the process of selling technology products such as software, SaaS, hardware, or IT services to other businesses B2B to solve operational problems. It includes consultative selling to understand the client's needs, constructing demos, and managing complex long-term deals. So, if it sounds very familiar, what that sounds like, that is just basically a appointment setting role. But there are some extra steps in this role that kind of make it different than those type of roles, if that makes sense. So now that we know what tech sales is, let's get a little bit deeper into what you would necessarily be doing, and let's get also into the position itself. So tech sales. It's just like a broad thing of software sales, remote high tickets, whatever you want to call it, right? And you will start off as an SDR or a BDR. It really depends on your company. Some companies are different. So SDR is just a sales development representative, just really short for that. And then a BDR is a business development representative, right? So you're basically going to be doing the same things. I can't speak on SDR too much because that's not what I am. I'm a BDR, but that's basically what you're going to do. Just constructive, consultative selling. Sorry, I can't talk today. And yeah, like I mean, it's really simplistic. It's really simple of like what it is. But now let's get into the pros and cons of this position itself. So pro for sure. You work remote depending on your company. Majority of the companies are remote. So you work fully remote, no office. They send you out equipment that you can use for the company and you just work, right? And that is something that I've never personally experienced, like working in a multi-million dollar company but working remote. I've always been in person. I've always been selling to B2B in person. I've always been selling to B2C in person. I've never had a remote role where I'm just 100% remote. So that was something I had to get used to. But another pro on top of that is that, sales is already a lucrative industry, right? You Majority of the jobs that you work at will be 100% commission based. The good thing about tech sales, it gives you some cushion. So with tech sales, you will get a salary, and that salary can definitely range. So you can get a starting at a 40K salary, and then you can go all the way up to a 100K salary. Just really depends on what company you're at and how big they are. Okay, and then now that we have salary and that out of the way, let's also get into the other good thing is that on target earnings OTE. So with the majority or all of your tech sales jobs that you will ever see on the internet ever, you will have an OTE of, let's say you have a 60K base salary but $120,000 OTE. So then you get that salary every 2 weeks, and now you have this OTE to make up within your deals. And yeah, that's basically how it works, but it's not necessarily oriented towards sales in a way. it's more oriented to the way you get paid, which is your meetings held. Okay, so let's get into how that works. So with majority of the companies, you will have a set goal. So how many meetings are you setting a month? And then you will have a held meeting goal to where that prospect actually showed up to the meeting. And majority of the places I've looked, that's usually how it works. So let's say you have to get 17, 18 meetings set for the month, but you have a held goal of 15, and that's how you get your commission. So it's a really good process because you're not necessarily worried about the money part yet, to where like you have to close the deal, you have to make sure that you're talking to the right person, you got to qualify them, like all of that, right? I mean, there's a sense of qualifying in it, but you know what I mean. And this is another really good thing that I will put into the pros. People call it a con, but it's 100% cold outreach. So cold outreach is one of those things to where you have to reach out to these prospects that don't really care or know who you are, and you have to somehow convince them on a phone call to hop on a meeting for whatever process that you're selling. So let's say that you're working at Salesforce, you have a 60K OTE, 60K OT or 60K OTE and 60K base salary. Flip that, but you will you will get some leads, some cold leads that the company will generate for you. All you have to do is call those leads. Hey, I'm Trey with Salesforce. It's a We're a CRM. We're one of the biggest CRMs in the entire world, around the country. So I was just curious, what are you currently using for your CRM? Like that, you have to kind of convince them to hop on a meeting to then get a held meeting, to where that is counted towards your goal for the month. So now that we have that out of the way, right? Now that we have that out of the way, there's so many good things about this role. You're working remote, you're building up certain skills, you're emailing, you're cold calling, you're building up these really good skills. You're working fully remote. There's so many good things about it, but then there are your cons. Okay. So, especially if you're working in like a really big SaaS company, it is a high stress environment. I'm not going to sit here and mess and like just say that and not be real with you guys. It's a very high stress environment to where you are 100% accountable for what you have to do in a day, to where okay, this you have a certain goal that you have to meet every single day. So let's say with the company that you're at, you got to hit 200 cold calls a day and 50 emails, let's say. Now you have to hit that goal, because you don't necessarily have to hit that goal every single day like 100%. You could be like one couple dials off, but that is still the recommended goal to get to where you want to be, which is getting those sets, to where you are calling 200 prospects a day, getting that, having to overcome objections, getting objections in general, handling rejection, and overall just knowing how to improve with or without coaching, to where you can't always 100% rely on your managers. You do have to have that sense of mental clarity, that sense of awareness of like, dang, I really could have did this better on the call, so now you do it on the next call. And then you also get overall coaching for your managers, obviously. But there is a sense of entrepreneurial, building your own business, being your own businessman, right? Because they're not going to tell you to make your calls. If you don't want to make your calls, they'll just replace you with someone else. To where if you really want to be good in this industry, you're going to have to grind every single day. And typically, a work day looks like a couple cold call blocks, couple email blocks, take a little bit to get some food, have a couple of internal meetings, and that's really all your day looks like. And I can get into how my day kind of looks like. It's like realistically the same. But so those are the cons, is what I would say, to where if you've never been in a sales environment before, this is your first time in sales, this is going to be a very, very hard, however many, this is going to be a very hard experience from you. So now that we have covered all of that, we can kind of get into the my day to day. So my day to day, I wake up around 7:30. I go for a walk, try to get my mind right. I look at previous calls from yesterday or the previous day to kind of get in. Okay, I should do this today. I should focus on this today. I'm already good at this. I don't need to do this. And then I start my day around like 8, and I start with like like 2 or 3 hour cold call block until about like 10 or 11, and then that's whenever I get as many calls as possible. So I can hit half of my dials for the day, and then when it hits 11, I will do like an hour of emailing, and then once it hits 12, I take like a 15-minute break, get myself something to eat, 20-minute break, get myself something to eat, get something in my system, get some coffee if I really need it, and then I go back to cold calling. Go directly back to it, like a 3 hour to finish out my cold calls for the day. Sometimes I do over, sometimes I don't. Really just depends on my mood on the day. It really depends on how the prospects are. Like it just really depends. And then after that 2 or 3 hour cold call block, I will then email again for another hour to hour and a half, and then I will end my day around 5 p.m., 5:30, sometimes 6. It really depends, and I will end off with another email to where I can get as many emails as possible, and then also schedule emails that I need to do for the next day, and just kind of plan for the next day is like my last like 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And yeah, that's basically my day. I work Monday through Friday. I don't have to work on the weekends technically because I get paid the same. It doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to make a difference is my commission check. It really doesn't make a difference. So now let's move on to how do you break in to tech sales, right? Because it sounds very hard. It sounds like the way that the internet says, but it's really not that hard. You just gotta really want it. You're gonna have to like really, really grind for it. Like realistically, like I'm just gonna keep it the buck with you. You have to actually really, really grind for it. Um, Before I was in tech sales, I was working in a inside sales position at a company, and I was doing it for about 10 months. I knew about tech sales. Like I've always known about tech sales since I started in sales at 16. I just never really wanted to get into it. But then something clicked in my head of like, I really want to lock in on sales, and I don't really want to have like a business anymore. Like I don't really want to have like a marketing agency. So if you weren't here before, like I was still doing it up until like a couple like weeks ago, like marketing, but I really wasn't like exactly loving marketing, and I was loving the sales part. So that kind of told me something to where I was like, oh, I should probably get into like a remote role to where I can do both at the same time if needed, but also I'm just home to where I can do what I need to do and answer and take calls when I need to take calls because you have a very flexible schedule. Like you don't have to follow exactly what I just said that I'm doing. You can do it completely the opposite way, right? You can plan for the next day at the start of your day, which I don't know why you do that, but you can do that, right? And I could take the calls, do whatever I need to, but it wasn't very sustainable. So that's whenever I quit doing marketing, closed the business, and I just fully went in on sales, right? So with that being said, you need to grind. It's like realistically the baseline. You just need to grind for it. So what I was doing, and I don't know why people have made it so like it's because of like the rise of info products and everything like that, or the rise of mentorships, which I'm not saying mentorship isn't good, but in my personal opinion, if you are wanting to get into a space, let's say sales for example, the first thing that you want to do is go get a sales job, right? And let's say that you started out with no money. This is like experience with like no money, right? This is no money. This is what I did whenever I was 16 with no money. I started in the sales job, but I did not go buy a mentor because I didn't have the money to buy a mentor, right? So, and it wasn't something that you don't know how well it's gonna work with you. Just because Jeremy Minor became a millionaire off of sales and working in sales for 10 to 15 years does not mean that you're going to become a millionaire within 6 months, unless it's something that you really resonate with. But you need time to figure out if this is what you want to do with your life, if this is what you're going to be doing for the next 30, 40, 50 years, right? Like you need to figure that out, or something not even long term, that like at least 10 years. Like, are you gonna do you see yourself working in sales for the next 10 to 15 years, right? Realistically. And that goes for every industry. Like, do you see yourself doing this long term? And that's why I feel like where people mess up, they try to they're on social media, they see these people, oh yeah, 6 months ago I was broke and now I make 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month with sales. So these people have this false condensation, or that's not the right word, have the false hope and the false reality of what sales actually is and how long it actually takes to scale, right? So, with that being said, people, I feel like you should get a sales job first. First, that's the first thing you need to do. And the way I broke into tech sales is say that you've never worked in sales in your life and you're wanting to get into sales by working in tech. The first thing that you need to do is research what type of company you want to work at. Like the ICP of your company. Are they a bigger startup? Are they a smaller startup? Do I want small compensation to start out to kind of figure everything out because it's going to be easier to break in that way? Do I want uh, um, high commission and salary to start because I'm just wanting to get the money and just kind of figure it out along the way? Like, you need to figure that out first, and then also make sure that you have a LinkedIn page with a couple of posts up with your previous experience up, even if it has nothing to do with sales. You just use ChatGPT to kind of orient those words to what would look good on a LinkedIn profile. And then you also just need to have Sales Navigator. Well, you don't need to have Sales Navigator. I take that back. I use Sales Navigator because I had a little bit of startup capital, right? And I was paying around like $100 to $200 a month for Sales Nav. I don't know what it is now, but that's what I was using to actually reach out to people and reach out to recruiters. So typically, after you have all this figured out, you know your ICP, you know what type of company you want to work at. Of course, don't just like stay to that ICP, but have it in mind at least whenever you're going through the interview process. See if it checks off all your boxes, and you have LinkedIn, you have an email. Like, this is what you're going to be doing. You're basically doing the job without being in the role. Okay, that's what you're going to be literally doing, and that's what you're going to be enforcing to these people. So next, what you're going to do, go into LinkedIn. You're going to look up SDR roles or SDR positions, BDR positions, business development representative roles, and everything will pop up. And then you can kind of do your sorting or whatever, get it to how you like, and then just go through and just start messaging people. Do not apply, because that is the worst way that I have seen people try to break into tech and quit within like 3 weeks. Is that they're just applying. They're not like really reaching out to the people that is a recruiter, to where they can kind of bypass that. Okay? So, what you want to do, reach out to a recruiter at a sales company. Like, hey, my name is Trey. I'm 19 years old. I live here. This is my previous experience. The reason I got into sales was because I really wanted to scale my income, scale my skills, and eventually I want to make a business. You don't have to say that. Probably not implement the business part, but I probably go deeper into the company and like what they are and how it aligns with what you want to do. It's probably going to be the best way so it doesn't turn them off, but you know what I'm trying to say. And then we send about 50 to 100 messages like that a day. And that's what I was doing. I was sending to about 50 to 150 messages like that a day. And then that's how you get in interviews, right? That's how you get in interviews. Wait, no, I'm lying. I was not sending that much. I was sending like 25, 50. Yeah, I was sending like, it really ranged, but it was between that. Anyway, that's how you get interviews, right? Because the job market is so bad right now to where you cannot get into a role with just by applying now. What you have to do is know someone inside the company that can get you to those steps, right? So that's our referrals are so big to where, okay, you now spoke to the recruiter, now you have an interview set up with the recruiter. So now you know, they evaluate you on that call and they try to figure out if you're good enough to move on to the next round. And the next round is most likely with the SDR, BDR manager, right? So with that, I'm not gonna go too deep into that. If you guys want another video, this video is already like 20 minutes. You guys can go. I can make another video. Just let me know. I can make another video. But you have that interview, and typically the last interview, if there is a last interview, is going to be with the VP, director of sales, something like that, something along those lines, right? So like some higher up above the manager, and that's the manager's boss. And typically, with some of the companies, you will have a mock call, either on the second call or the third call. Didn't have it with my company, so that's great. So where I can kind of just relearn how to cold call on the job. But majority of the roles that you're gonna find are going to be a mock call, to where you and the other person are going to role play, and then you're just gonna try to enclose them on the meeting, and they're gonna send you a script. You're gonna have everything ready. You study the script before the meeting, and blah 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 blah, right? And yeah, I mean that's like realistically the easiest way that I can say to break in is just send a bunch of messages, talk to a whole bunch of people, get people will get you on interviews. You can also talk to other reps in the company that are SDRs and BDRs, and then you can enter that way as well, to where they can refer you to a recruiter. You talk to the recruiter, and it's just basically an extra step to the process. Because sometimes recruiters don't like to answer. So that's really going to be my spiel of what tech sales is, how I broke in, what my day to day looks like, how you can break in, and everything along the sun, right? And maybe one of these days I'll go deeper into like money and like what I make and how I do it, right? One of these days, but probably just not right now. But yeah, this video is already 21 minutes, so I really want to move on to the next video. I'm mass recording a bunch of videos. I don't even think you guys understand how many videos I am behind right now, because I am behind like 1 or 2 videos that I need to go ahead and edit. So I'm just adding to the fire basically. But yeah, I am just kind of going off my list as of right now. Excuse me, as of right now. And yeah, hopefully I get to see you guys in the next video. And if you guys want a more polished version, or maybe a little bit deeper into everything, just let me know. I can record that. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.